Thank you, Alicia, for agreeing to allow me to interview you. I'm very excited about it. You know, I've known about your work for a while now, so I've been very excited. I wanted to have you on a show so that so others could hear about you as well. And so I'm just very delighted because, as you know, Grandmas 2.0 is all about grandmas, and we're all about redefining and helping grandmas to redesign their lives, because the way that society sees us, not you, but me and other grandmas, is that they kind of think, okay, grandma, go somewhere, sit down. You had your time. But I don't see that. I'm trying to dispel that myth, that thought, that thinking that grandma's time is up, because it's not. For some of us, it's just the beginning for us to become who we really are, because you know, at the different stages in our lives, you know, like you childhood, and then a young adult, you know, all of that. And then a lot of us had children. Some people had children very young, some didn't. And then you don't really get to live your full life necessarily, because you know you have to take a back burner when you have children. And then when your children become adults, then it's like it's your time again. And that's how I always saw it. Now, every grandma does not see it that way. And so some may think that I'm being a little selfish, but that's okay. You know, doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me at all. You know? But the thing is, I think it's a time for us to really focus on us at this time in our lives, especially for our children or adults. You know, and a lot of times people will use their grandmas to babysit their children, because grandma, you already had your fun. You stay home. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. That's not right.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we have stuff to do as well. So that's kind of the message that I want to send to grandmas. Like, your life is not over. For some of us, it's just beginning. And there's a lot of grandmas out there that are really living their dreams. They're doing the things that they've always wanted to do. And I've been highlighting some of those grandmas as well. But why? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I think that's beautiful. And you are exactly the grandma to sort of inspire others.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so I really have been looking for those grandmas. So if you know of any, you know, that are doing these fantastic things, because I think that helps motivate others. I went to pick up a car one day at a not a car dealership, but a rental car, because I was going out of town. And the young lady said to me, and I gave her my card, right? I don't know why I gave her my card. She didn't ask for my card necessarily, but she seemed to take to me. So she said, what do you do? So I went on to tell her, and then I gave her my card. She said, oh my God, my mom needs this.
Yeah.
She said, because she said she got sick, and since she's been sick, the only thing she can do is stay at home. And she said she's depressed and all this kind. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, tell her no. The devil is a lie. We are not doing it.
Oh, that's so good.
You know, so I gave her my card and everything, and I told her, I said, I really don't want grandmas to think that their life is over just because they're grandma. I said, so that's what this is really all about for me. It's about sharing and encouraging people to do some of the things they really always wanted to do, and felt like maybe they didn't have the chance, or, you know, life responsibilities got in the way or whatever. So that's really what it's all about. And so, and with that being said, I think your organization and the work that you're doing is a really nice collaboration, because the way that you talk about what you're doing, and I've heard you, and I invited you to speak to my class and all that. I mean, it's for any age, any group of people, doesn't matter. So I think that's why it's so ideal that we do this, and we allow grandmas to hear it, and allow them to learn about you and what you're doing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, because, you know, I could talk about this all day long. Right? So
yes.
I'm going to let you have the floor. So it is my pleasure, though, to present Mrs. Alicia Dempsey. This wonderful young lady who we just happened to meet by circumstance, being at the same place at the same time. And it's like we connected. And, you know, there's some people that you meet that you just automatically connect to. And then there are other people you meet like, yeah, okay. But this was so interesting, the way that we met and the fact that we have continued to engage with each other. So Miss Alicia Dempsey.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Marcia, for inviting me. And you are so correct. When we met years ago, I see it as like a godsend. I think because it was really authentic relationship that we had like instantly. And even sort of how things transpired when we first met and all the way up to now. And I first of all, before I even talk about the work that I want you to know that I'm so proud of you for the work that you're doing and having launched Grandma 2.0. Because I remember us talking about it several years ago. And so I'm so proud of you. You're not my mom, but I'm just really proud of you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And I think you're so right. As you're talking about grandmas and having sort of devoted their lives to their family, I can relate to that part because I have devoted my life. I have 4 daughters, ages 16 to 30. And so early on in my life, right after college, I devoted my life to my family and still wanting to sort of use the skills that I knew that I had. So I really, throughout my years in raising our daughters, I basically used those skills, but still was there for my kids. And so not necessarily everyone has that opportunity to sort of do both. But coming to date, I want to say that I want to encourage all grandmas, no matter if you're a young grandma or an older grandma. I don't want you to think that your life is over. And I will, and I know that I'm maybe a lot younger than some of you, but I want to say that I want to inspire you to let you know that your story has just begun, and you can be able to, the things that you may have had on the back burner from having raised your family or whatever the situation is, that you can bring that to the forefront, and you can be able to, like Marcia's doing, completely rock it. And to be able to fulfill the things that you've actually had within your heart for years. And I'm just now at this point in my life, I'll be 54 this year. I'm starting to actually learn who Alicia is and to actually discover my purpose. And so it's never too late. And so,
That's right. That's right.
And so part of the reason why people say, well, why did you sort of create Inspires and write your book, Welcome, which you can see the sort of behind me is the cover. I was inspired to write Welcome because I saw, I think it was like late 2017, early 2018, I saw sort of an uprise in racial and a lot of things were brewing in our society. And I wanted to do something that would be able to bring people together because I saw that the division was starting to happen. And so at the time I sort of decided, I'm going to actually because I had the opportunity to take people to the African American Museum, which I don't know if others have actually been there, but you should definitely, every year in town, depending on where you are, you should definitely make it a journey to go there. So upon actually going there, I actually had, and I wanted to show you, Marcia, because I don't think you've actually seen this. When I first started out, before I published my book, Welcome, I had these little cards and it says, welcome to the table. And had the words of on business cards. And probably, I try to tell people that's where I sort of started. I was inspired to go on a journey to bring people of different races, different ethnic groups to the museum with me. And that ended up being over maybe 500 people in several months. And so I was probably going twice a week, taking between 30 to 100 people, depending on who it was. And so when I was doing that journey, I discovered that people really wanted to share their story when we had lunch together. And so what I'm doing is I created, and you guys, this is my little story mandala. And so I actually, when we had lunch, when people were eating, we sat at the table in the cafeteria, and they were just sort of like sharing who they were and talking about race and families, even, those who may have lived in the South. And they were talking about how their families were, but how they have actually learned and grown out of that. And so
Mhm.
that really encouraged me. And I decided that I wanted to sort of take it not just from the museum, but I wanted to take it further.
Mhm.
So I discovered that one woman met me at the museum, and it was, of course, a stranger. And he asked me if I would actually bring his students on a journey with him. And he, of course, he was from a school in North Carolina. Of course, I didn't know what school, but I ended up flying there, and
Mhm.
they became the faces of welcome.
Mm.
And I can read it really quickly for
Okay.
you. It's a really short book, so let me show you that. And I'll try to read it without my glasses. um, let's welcome everyone and discover our unique stories. Doris Henderson Newcomer School welcomes immigrant and refugee students. Through our stories, we will gain an understanding of each other. I'll show you the photos. These are pictures of the students I took when I was there.
Yes. Mhm.
And share the bread of empathy, peace, compassion, love, and respect. By coming together, we're saying, I see you, I value you, I love you.
Mm.
So happy, don't they?
Yes, and that I hear you, I value you. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's what most people want. They want to be seen.
Exactly. Exactly.
The beautiful
So,
person you are and what you can bring to the table. Let's welcome each other, and others will join us because they see the joy and light in building community together. Everyone has a place here. And here's a photo close up.
is that the whole class? Yes.
Yeah, that was the
Yes.
class.
Mm-hmm.
One of the classes, actually. The school
Mm-hmm.
is a newcomer school, and it was before from kindergarten all the way through high school. But of course,
Wow.
around the world, they would necessarily, you could actually have someone that's in the age of a high school student, but they may be their education as a middle school student. So they sort of got them assimilated into the school system for 1 year. So anyway, long story short, I went to the school, took photos, came back, and I self-published this small little book, Welcome. But I feel that it's a really powerful book because of the side of it, the words inside of it. I was inspired. I have a really strong faith. So I was inspired to actually write those words before this whole journey started. And those are the words that are in there. And I feel it actually speaks to every single person on this planet. It's not that is limiting to one group.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter any differences that we have. And so when I came back, it's like, okay, I am going to self-publish the book, and then I'm going to go on this campaign to sort of share what is your story, which is called exercise that I developed with it, where people would actually say, okay, well, who they are. And so as you can imagine, so I know with this is the story mandala. So the idea is that you put your name in the middle and you write 8 things about you. And when I did this with Marcia and her class, it was amazing because the students, we did it online, were able to complete strangers. I didn't know them, but they were able to sort of think about who they were. And so that really encouraged me to continue. And so I've gone since to Starbucks locally. I partnered with Busboys and Andy Shalal at Busboys and Poets, which of course, that's an environment where he welcomes everyone and celebrates that. And so for the last several years, that's the work I've been doing. And I've been doing it, pretty tirelessly, just doing it because I knew that it was important. And now, as we've come to, of course, in these last really 4 years, things have just been so crazy in our country. I've seen it's so important, the work that I'm doing, because I see it as a really simple solution towards the issues that we're having in this country. And one of the issues that I see in this country is that there's a lack of empathy, and there's a lack of empathy for everyone's stories. And there's so many people, be it race, age, sexual orientation. There's some people that are on the outskirts of this, what we call life. And I don't feel that their story even matters. And I am wanting to empower people, inspire people to let them know that their story absolutely matters. And especially where our nation is right now, we need for everyone to know that their story matters, because
Mhm.
my belief is that my story as Alicia Dempsey is not meant for me. My story is actually meant for the betterment and for those that are actually around me or that may be left after I'm not here anymore. And so your story isn't just for you to live it. Your story is actually to make a difference for others who will be left behind or who actually will come in contact with the beautiful thing that you've left. And so,
Yes.
yeah, and I think, for people to understand and see their value, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping both young and old, for people to let them know that, that they're beautifully and wonderfully made, and that they have a purpose, and not to give up on themselves, and
Mhm.
to know that all of who they are, the good and bad, because I also tell people when they're doing their stories with me, is that your story is your past, things that you've overcome, things that you've been through, things that you've been able to sort of go through the fire for, but it's also
Mhm.
who are you right now. But looking ahead is also who you aspire to be. And so I've had young kids who have said, Miss Dempsey, third grade, can I say that I'm a writer? Because I told them I was a writer. I'm like, absolutely. So
Mhm.
that,
Right. You can define yourself. You
yeah,
should define yourself instead
yes,
of allowing others to do it. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. And I've had so many people that I probably up to now, I've probably had thousands of stories, and I need to make sure that I collect those stories and actually have them in some way to sort of share, because I wish that I could remember and capture all the words, but it's so inspiring. I get so inspired
Mhm.
by people when the sort of like the light bulb goes off, when people actually sort of share who they are, and I can see that they're really thinking about, okay, who is it? What can I safely share with her? But then I actually
Mhm.
sit down, I see, like, you know what? I'm going to actually share who I am with Alicia, and it makes me feel so good to do that, because I see this sort of chains being broken, that they've been broken from whatever it is that was
Mhm.
back. And our society, and probably others too, in our society, it's such a norm for people to sort of just go through life not being seen, not being truly seen. And I don't want people to live like that anymore, because there's no way to live that way.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about some work that I'm doing for Head Start, and they're talking of one of the things that I found in my research was about employees, for example. So employees on their jobs, many of them don't have, we're looking at it from the perspective of employee engagement
Mhm.
and retention, right? What is it that we need to do to keep people engaged in their jobs so that they will like what they're doing
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so that they also will stay? So the
Mhm.
whole idea behind employees is to keep people safe. We know right now there's been this, what they call the great resignation. People are
Mhm.
leaving their jobs left and right. There's been some research, some articles that have been written recently about that
Mhm.
because of the pandemic. But I think what happened is it also showed, it pulled the covers back, if you will, on the fact that people are not fulfilled in their jobs.
Right. Yes.
And so a way to do that is to look at this whole engagement thing and figure out what we can do. And in my research, I found something about this belonging index, they call it. And people are not feeling like they're a part of the organizations even.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's really sad when you go to a place or when you are part of a place where you really don't feel like you belong. Because again, going back to the first page in your book, I feel like I'm being heard. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm being valued,
Mhm.
and that was not what was happening. And so therefore
Mhm.
there was no sense of belonging. And Abraham Maslow said that years ago, that we all need to have this sense of belonging. If we
Yes.
don't have that, we cannot get to the other, that
Mhm.
hierarchy of needs. We can't get beyond and move to the next level if we don't have that basic need met. And it's
Yeah.
so sad, but when you were talking about, the book and what you really hope to gain and what you hope to impart to people,
Mhm.
it made me think about that. Oh my God, there's another group, to talk to
Mhm.
this about. And these
Mhm.
are employers, these organizations, where people need to have this sense of belonging. And,
Yes.
one way to do that is, like you said, just to hear their stories. You
Mhm.
get a whole new perspective on people when you really hear them,
Yeah.
hear their stories, but that
And
doesn't happen that much at
I
work.
love
Yeah.
what you're saying. I was recently asked to go and speak to some of the general manager at Busboys.
Mm.
And so at their new location in Columbia, Maryland.
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm,
I went there, and that was my first event actually that I did it with managers from the different stores and did the exercise. They were doing a retreat. And it
mm-hmm,
was interesting that I sort of shared my story, and and I tried to be like an example to sort of
mm-hmm.
and be vulnerable. And so several of them actually shared their stories, and it was surprising that some of the things that each of them were saying they didn't know about, right? And so they didn't
Mm-hmm.
know the things that they were necessarily sharing through this,
Mm.
even sharing those 8 things, some of those
Right.
things that they hadn't necessarily shared with everyone else. But see,
Right.
I'd say what I discovered is that there's a form of like a shield that we sort of people in society put up. We only open up and share certain things for certain people, maybe our family, maybe our close friends that
Right.
actually feel safe. And so in society, and maybe sometimes even in families, I've discovered that there's some people that positivity and who they think they are hasn't been spoken into them. So not just families and friends are a safe place either for some people, but
Exactly. Yep.
yeah. Yeah. And so I discovered is that it was surprising to some, like, wow, they didn't share that with me and they're going through something. And what I told them is like, I said, imagine this, if not just what you want to have on a job, they bring that, but what you're missing is everything else that they can potentially bring. But you're not asking them about those other things.
Right.
You're only asking them about what they can bring to satisfy the need that you have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what you're missing, and you're missing a whole part of who that person is, because
Mm-hmm.
what would happen if you actually valued the entirety of that person, not just what
Right.
you actually bring.
Yeah. How powerful would that be for
Yeah.
that employee to know that, oh my God, they really care about me and they really care that I feel like I'm a part of this.
Oh
It,
yeah, because for
it's a
me, if you
game
ask,
changer. It
yeah,
really is a game changer.
yeah, if you're asking if you're asking me, and I'm a self-starter and I love to have autonomy, but if you value me as a whole person, I'm going to give you 150%, not just what is necessary, but I'm
Right.
going to show you something else that's going to even make things and things even more. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the Leo in us, right?
Yeah.
Always above and beyond. Why are you doing all this stuff? I know my husband's like, why do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. That's just who I am.
Yeah,
But
that's the way to.
and it makes me feel good. It's not like, it's a pain to do it because it's
Mhm.
what I like to do. So
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So before we go any further about that, let me tell you that you inspired me. Okay, I want you to know that you inspired me to do this.
Oh my gosh, you published a book. Look
Yes,
at
yes,
you.
yes, 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 yes,
Congratulations. Oh
yes.
my gosh.
Yes, you inspired me to, and I wrote this book, and it's stories of inspiration and life lessons and motivation from
Oh,
grandmas.
oh my
So
gosh.
what I did was interviewed grandmas and then put their stories together.
Oh
And I had some
wow.
help, of course. My son helped, and my son, who is an author,
Oh,
and my a young lady that I hired, who is a good friend. Her mom is a good friend of mine, and she did the interviews for me. So we identified some people, and we did the interviews and put the book together. I
look
really
at you.
enjoyed doing
I'm
that.
so proud of you.
Yes.
So
Thank
good.
you. I really enjoyed doing that. And I'm going to do my next one, and it's going to be called The 2.0 Grandma. So I'm going to have different grandmas that are the 2.0 version of themselves. So
Oh
maybe totally
wow.
different from the grandmas in here, But
Oh,
but yeah, that's my next project. So
that is so
just
good.
meeting you, so it was just so, like you say, it was fate. I think
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was destined for us to meet,
Mhm.
because I would have never realized how, I guess, how easy, and I don't want to make it sound like it's minimal, because I know writing a book is hard work, but I
Mhm.
was always afraid to do it. I've always wanted to do it, but it was a little bit
Mhm.
afraid to do it and didn't
No,
know
yeah.
what it all entailed.
Oh, yeah.
But just having met you, and you shared what you did, and oh my God. And you even
Yeah.
share that with my students, and I still
Yeah.
share that
Oh, good.
link in my class with my students.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God. So that you were very instrumental in
Oh,
helping me do this. I want you to know that.
yeah.
And I know I can't remember whether the last time we talked or one time, at some point when we talked, I was telling you that I was doing that. So yes, it is
Yes.
finished, it is
I
published, and I'm
am
excited.
get a signed copy.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm very excited about this. So,
Oh,
and if you, later when we get off, if you put your address in the, send me a text with your address, I would definitely
yeah.
send you a copy. Yes,
Oh, thank
definitely.
you.
So
Thank
yes, so yes, so I'm very excited about that, and it was published back in September, actually.
Wow.
And so,
You're working hard during the pandemic.
yes, that's exactly what I was doing. That's when I actually jumped right into Grandma's 2.0, was doing the pandemic. I said, okay, wait a minute. Now this is the perfect time, because you
Oh,
know me, I'm as they say, I'm a busybody.
oh,
Is what
yeah.
my husband calls me. You're always doing stuff. So but that I had to slow down. It gave me an opportunity to slow down a little bit,
Mm.
and then to really prioritize and say, okay, now what is it that I've always wanted to do and just didn't have the time to do, and now I've got
Wow.
this time, because I didn't have to travel so much, because I
Yeah.
was going back and forth to DC and Virginia, back
Mhm.
and forth, and we're not talking Northern Virginia, we're talking Hampton Roads, Virginia.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's distance, yeah. And so I was doing that quite often. And so because during the pandemic we were quarantined, I'm like, this is the perfect time. The
Yeah. People
perfect
have
time.
to have an audience that is just there.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly. So I also started doing events, virtual events and things like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I'd love to have you do the story. Everyone
Mhm.
has a story with
Yeah.
us at some point. So we'll talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I would really love for grandmas to do that. I think it's a very powerful, because I
Yes.
remember when I did it, which is very powerful. So definitely, I think that's something that
Uh,
we want to do.
uh,
So let's talk about, I consider this a movement, right? That
mhm.
you're doing. I consider
Yeah.
this work a movement.
Yes.
Um, and I think that it has so much potential to do to do such wonderful work, to make people feel good about who they are, to show others how to value other people and not just
Mhm.
themselves. So I really believe that. And so what I want to find out now, you talked a little bit about it when you touched on a little bit about when you said, my question was why this is so important right now in this time at this point in history. And you talked a little bit about it when you were talking about what happened with, of course, this is not anything new as far as African-American men being murdered. And I mean, this is not anything
Yeah.
new, right?
Yeah.
It's really not new. This is
Mhm.
things that have happened, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But at this point in history, I think finally people are coming to the point, okay, now this is enough,
Mhm.
and so finally I think people are trying to realize, okay, how can we make a change? Even
Mhm.
corporations some of them are definitely trying to make a change. Well, whether it's sticking or not, I don't know. But what
Yeah.
would be your advice to make these things stick? Because, as Americans, we always try new things. We love to try new things. But
Yes.
if they don't stick, it's like in a way, it's like wasting time.
Yeah. And
That's
so,
just
so
my
I,
opinion about it.
so
So
I have,
what would you say?
yeah. So I say that um, I feel that this welcome and was your story was created or it was inspired to touch the entire society,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever that is, be them infants who are just learning to sort of talk or know who they are, to elderly who have actually seen so much of life and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
with the state of our country right now, I am even more inspired to do and driven to do the work that I'm doing, because I see the simplicity of this exercise. What is your story? A simple question, but it's powerful, because what we're doing with that is we're letting that person know that I see you and I want you to tell me who you are. I don't want you to tell me who society says you are. I want you to tell me who even your parents say you are, or anyone around you in your life that you've been through. I want you, with your voice, to be empowered to tell me who you are. And I feel that it will not only empower the individual that is actually doing the exercise, but it's going to be community building, because we will begin to see each other. We'll be able to see each other and value the diversity that is around us. For so long in this country, we have not valued diversity, not truly.
No, we say it, but we don't act it. We don't live it out. We don't live it.
So I am, and this is definitely a movement. I want to move people to the point of really seeing each other and celebrating the diversity that we have in this country. And to be, and I feel that, yes, you're always going to have those, outliers that they will never come to that point. I understand that. And I'm accepting of that. But I believe that there are more people in this country and around the world that have the same mindset that I do when it comes to being able to make this world better. I feel that in my heart, and I know that. But there are so many people that they don't know what to do to make things better. And the great thing is, it's like, all you need to do is like just see people for who they are. That's all you need to do. If you have for who they are. I spoke and I interviewed, and that's something else I'll share with you too. I actually a little clip from Busboys, and I was interviewing one of the workers there, and I asked him, I said, what do you think people say who you are? And he said, I know that they already have a story already figured out about who I am, but they don't know me. I'm a twin. Right. I love music and all of that. But I knew before I asked them, I knew what the answer was going to be. That so many people walk down the streets or go through life and they're judged on who they are, and people don't even know anything about that person. Even for myself, if I were to go somewhere, people already like, oh, this is who she is, this is what she's doing, this is how old she is, this, they already have written my story, and they have no and then of course sometimes a really negative sense, like even those who are homeless. People definitely don't see them. They're just extra on the sidewalk or somewhere else, right? But they have a story as well. They have a story that can actually be of great impact and understanding for us if we actually just took the time to listen to their story. And that's what I want to do. Every aspect of society, those who are toddlers, those who are elderly, those who are in the streets, who are homeless, those who are incarcerated as well. I think we can actually learn a lot from the diverse stories that are in our society. And when we actually, there's something that magical happens actually that I've seen so many times. When people, I'm going to get emotional, but when people really see that you're listening and seeing them, something beautiful happens. And that's why I do the work that I do, because I know that it works. I know that that is what is lacking in this country. What's lacking in this country is people not being seen and valued for who they are.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, if we can get to that place, and it doesn't matter if you have different religions, if you're Black or white, if you're Baptist or Muslim, it doesn't matter. What matters is if you welcome everyone to the table and say, I see you. As simple as that.
Yeah, I love that. I've loved it since the first time you explained it. and now I love it even more, so I'm so excited that we had this opportunity to talk about this again, because I think that this is something that everyone needs to hear. And, like I was saying earlier with this research that I was doing, and I was thinking about, oh my God, that fits into that so nicely,
Mhm.
because right now, a lot of employers and organizations are hiring these diversity, inclusion, and equity folks who are supposed to come in and put on a cape
Mhm.
and save the day.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm wondering, have they even thought about the idea that the very basic thing that you can do
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
just hear someone else's story and then
yeah,
really get to see who they really are, not
yes,
who you think they are,
yeah,
they
exactly.
really are. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there's so many parts of our society that can be
Mm-hmm.
healed by people just sort of take time to just pause for a moment and just to really see people. And I actually wrote the president, and I actually got
Mm-hmm.
a reply last week.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and he told me to continue the work that I was doing. And part of the quote that I posted this week on social media was a part of his letter that he
Ah.
and he basically said that he wanted to encourage people to continue the work to basically create the American story.
Mm.
And so that was really encouraging. And so,
Mm.
and also, I guess another thing, I'll be going on WSA Channel 9 next week to do what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really thankful that I'll be able to have a larger audience to share this work with in hopes
Yes.
spread. And so that's my sort of prayers, that the work will be able to spread. Not that I will get any notoriety or anything from it. I just want it to spread and to be
Right.
others.
Yes, and that's so beautiful that, because I think I agree that more people need to hear about it. More people need to acknowledge that this is something that's not hard to do. Hello, we could
Mm-hmm.
all do this. We
Yeah.
could do this. We could make that a part of who we are. Especially like I was saying in these organizations, and I'm thinking just about Head Start, because that's the group that I was working with, and
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about them. And because right now the other thing that's going on, and just think about if we applied this to that situation. So we know that with the pandemic, this ever changing, ever evolving up and down roller coaster that we're on, that is called
Yeah.
COVID-19, that
Yes.
is in now in 22. But
Yeah.
with that, on one hand, they're saying, well, everybody needs to come back, and needs to come back so that we can do in-person services, right?
Yes.
We can
Yes.
offer these services. Teachers can be here in the classroom, managers can be in there, whatever. But yet, people are falling out like flies from the pandemic. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
more people
Yeah.
now have it, I think, than maybe caught it in the beginning when it first came, because they say that this variant is more contagious than the other
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
variants. And so
Yeah.
now, and we're thinking all this, okay, well, now we'll be able to get back. And then at one point we did. We thought that, okay, we'll be able to go back to work soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't know about this thing. We just don't know. And until
Yeah.
we come to that realization, I think instead of trying to have all the answers, I think we need to stop and say, okay, now maybe this is not making any sense. Maybe they don't need to come back in the fold. Or if they do, we need to do some things first before,
Yeah.
I think we're rushing it, and that's creating problems for people. And again, if people are saying, well, no, we don't want to come back to work, because you see people are resigning, right? That sends a message.
Yeah.
But yet you're saying, no, we need to come back to work. I mean, that is again an example of not hearing and not
Yeah.
valuing the people.
Yes. Exactly. And I think,
So
and of course, not even not hearing and not valuing, but not being understanding
mhm, mhm,
of, I guess, everyone's situation. And of course,
right.
there's so much division now in our country on so many levels that um, I think, I hope that there's an opportunity for people with different ideas to come together, at least see each other. And
Mhm,
that's what I'm
mhm,
hoping.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
not gonna be it's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of persistence.
Yeah. Definitely is going to take persistence. We definitely got to have that staying power. And so for the future, what do you envision? What is your goal around this work? What do you hope? Where do you hope we'll be in a couple of years from now? And not talking about the pandemic, but just focusing on welcome to the table and listening to folks' stories and that sort of thing.
I hope if I were to think this is what I look for, I would love to see welcome, what is your story in schools across the country. Not only teachers can be able to sort of utilize it to sort of get to know their students, professors and faculty can actually be able to sort of learn together during their team meetings. I think when you really know the people that are in your community, be it a classroom or in a city or a town or a state or a country, that's only good to actually really know someone, to value them. And that's all that we have, small to large. So I think I would love to see it in the school systems, and that's across the board. Not, from the youngest all the way to university. I would also like to see it in cities across the country and in the leadership there. And so I would love to be able to speak to leaders. I would actually, one of the things I would do one day, even in this next couple of years, to be on the floor of the House and to be able to share this and to show as a simple solution towards race reconciliation in our country.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
I love that. I love that about the school, because I think that's a great starting place, for, and I know that when we did it in our class, I think we did it with one class face to face, didn't we? Or a couple, did we do it with a couple class face to face? I remember doing it with one class. And they loved it. It was very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah.
And, usually like at the beginning of the semester, we do, let's go around the room and say who's here, whatever. But this gave it a whole new dimension to, that sort of welcoming icebreaker, kind of getting to know you kind of thing. And I know for me, as the professor, I really felt that I had a deeper knowledge about my students that were in that class. And what that did was it really strengthened the relationship.
Yes.
And for the students, I'm not really sure, but I know that some of them said, oh my God, this was so wonderful. And then connecting with each other and that sort of thing. Because in classes, we don't always do that. We're always rushed. We got to get to the content. With that all the other stuff is not important. But we know that if affective stuff really matters in relationship building, there's been lots of research out there about that, and as well as we know that matters in the success, because one of the things that we're learning now about working with young children is that if you as a teacher, if you can build a relationship with that child, that makes all the difference in that child's desire to please you and do his or her work.
Oh yes,
it goes a long way. So I think this exercise, that you're talking about, this work that you're doing, is something that definitely we need to share with schools. And I don't know if you're thinking about a curriculum or not, but I would say yes, please.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said as far as the impact as far as children and the impact that teachers have on children. And I, of course, and I tell people this when I can remember, I have one teacher that I remember from grade school, and her name was Miss Blair, and she was my third grade teacher. And I remember she told me, and it was on my report card, which I still have, she said that I was an amazing artist. And that's the only I remember from any of my teachers, but it has stuck with me all these years. And I value the compliment she gave me, and I actually see that gift that I actually have. And I think that it actually has grown over the years because of that one, speaking
Yes.
that time. And people don't realize how powerful words are.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. And even teaching college, you would think that people don't think that's important to college students, but it is.
Mhm.
It is very important to them.
Mhm.
I have my students, they'll send me a message about whatever, and text message, and so I allow them to text me if they want to, whatever, they have a question, whatever. And at the end of the semester, they always say, "Oh my God, Dr. McClain, you were such a wonderful teacher. I really appreciate you being patient with me," and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And I always respond with something positive. I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you were the ideal student. You were conscientious about your work. I don't mind you. If I minded you reaching out to me, I would have never given you my phone number."
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If I had a problem with, I would not give you my phone number. So
Yeah.
when I give you my phone number, that means, yeah, you can use it. And so it really makes a difference. And then one of the other professors, a couple of other professors said to me, "These students absolutely love you. What is it that
Oh,
you're doing for them?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing anything for them. I'm just treating them like human beings."
oh, yeah. That's
Because to
beautiful.
me, that's the most important thing. That's what all of us want, this sense of
Yeah.
belonging,
Mhm.
that somebody actually out there cares about me. And that's
Yeah.
really all it is. I'm not doing anything. And I said to them, it's no magic. It's just, I just really let them know that I care about them. That's all.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's nice.
Because
Yeah.
that's really all what people want. That's the only thing we want, is to
Yeah.
know that somebody cares about us.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. And so I think we're right with regard to it being in the education system, it being in the general public. I would love that, and
Mm-hmm.
corporations. But I would
Mm-hmm.
also like to be able to see it. And I actually had a conversation a few weeks ago with the police department, actually. And I would actually
Oh,
love to see
yes.
this work where you actually have, as we're talking about all the issues with George Floyd and all the things that have happened,
Yes.
I would
Oh,
love to see this
yes.
work in connection with
Yes.
the community, for them to
Yes.
be able to come together and say, okay, this is who I am, and not necessarily who who you think I am based on where I live, or that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for it to sort of reach every aspect of our society.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I'm just thinking here, so where should you start first? No, I'm joking. And if I had to vote on the folks that need it first, I'd say, let's do the police first. Okay, please.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe things would change. Yeah, but
yeah,
definitely I see that. Oh my God, that is so powerful. Can you imagine
yeah,
if they actually did that, and not just, because a lot of this is preconceived notions,
mm, yeah, yeah. You're right.
that they have about the folks that they encounter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I
Hmm.
just think we need a space for people to feel comfortable to be themselves.
Hmm. Well, there is a police organization. What is this child to me? He is actually my cousin's son, and
Mhm.
so, but my mother raised him as a little boy, and his ex-wife now, but his ex-wife works for, I don't know the name of those, but it's a national accreditation body. It's in Northern Virginia, in Manassas, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I can share her information with you, because
Yeah.
when I think it was far back as Michael Brown,
All right. Yeah.
I sent her a text one day, and I was like, you know what, I'm just so sick of it. And I know she works with the police, and and this is a national organization. I'm not sure exactly what they do, but they accredit
Mhm.
these police departments or
All
police
right. Yeah.
stations or something.
Mhm.
And so I said to her, look, you all need to figure out something, because
Mhm.
this is just getting out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. She may have gotten a little offended by it, but I think that might have been because of the relationship with her and
Yeah.
the nephew or whatever.
Yeah.
But my point is that maybe that organization you can talk to them, and maybe something can come
Mhm.
out, because that really needs to happen. And they're
Yeah.
at a national level, and I think
Oh
she
yeah.
still works with them.
Oh
So
good.
I'll be happy. And again, like I said, she's in Manassas there. So I'll be happy to share her
Yeah.
information
I'd love
with
to talk
you.
to her. Yes. That sounds
Yeah,
good.
because that needs to happen. It really needs to happen. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, have you ever done any groups with just grandmas before?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I have now been requested or asked, and I guess in February, there's a
Uh-huh.
local church in the area, and there are probably like older grandmas that will be there. We've got 40
Ah.
of them. And so I'll be actually going to an event, and they have actually requested me to come, and I'll do What Is Your Story with them.
Ooh.
And
Please
so,
share Grandma's 2.0 with them.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
just let them know about it.
I will. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. I will
Oh, that
definitely.
would be wonderful. So yeah, I'd love to hear about, because I think that again, since that's my target audience, of course,
Yeah.
I think it's so important that we hear their stories, and and that they understand that their life is not over, and there's so much value in being a grandma
Oh,
for
yeah.
a lot of different reasons. And part of one main reason is this whole role model thing. you
Oh,
know
yeah.
and
Oh,
so
yeah.
if we're going to be a role model, we have to make sure that what we're modeling is appropriate
Oh,
for the
yeah.
children, in that we're saying to them, oh no, your life is not over because you're grandma. No, 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 no. You
Mhm.
still get out there and you still focus on your health, your health, your
Mhm.
wellness,
Yeah.
whatever, and at Grandma's 2.0, we focus on that. We focus on fashion and beauty. We also focus on those grandmas that are raising their grandkids,
Oh, yeah.
doing the parenting 2.0 kind of sort of thing.
Uh,
and
yeah.
then and then we also focus on financial literacy, because a lot of grandmas are the head of their whole family, or whatever, the whole not just their immediate family, but sometimes if they're raising their grandkids, they're in charge of the second generation, if you will.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so that's so important that we, like I said, we hear their stories, and we help them realize that, yeah, they're very important to us and very critical. And they are role models to
Mhm.
both generations, because
Oh, yeah.
everyone looks at us to see what we're doing and see, and so we have to make sure that we're sending the right message to them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
part
Yeah.
of that is that we're not done yet. No, 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 no. Wait a minute. Don't count us out.
Yeah. My grandmother made a huge impact on me. And of course, she passed away when I was in college, but I know she's looking down at me right now, and, she's really happy. I remember actually she lived in the country, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to houses with her to clean windows and clean, and she was a really hard worker, but
Mm-hmm.
she was a really strong Black woman, and
Mm-hmm.
but very loving as well. It was like it's everything balled up in one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really encouraged me to sort of just be Alicia, and that's what I'm actually feel like I'm actually coming back to,
Mm-hmm.
um, discovering.
Mm-hmm.
Planted in me a long time ago.
Well, that's wonderful. So I'm very excited, Alicia, about the work that you were doing, and excited that I could be a part of it and share it with other people. And so thank you for that opportunity. And also thank you for inspiring me to do some things for myself as well, the book, and then the
Yeah.
whole Grandma's 2.0, because had I not met you, I don't know, I still might be in the stages of, oh, I would love to do this, but
Uh,
because we do that sometimes. Oh, I would love to do something, but, and we come up with a reason why not to do it.
but
But
you're an inspiring woman, though. I would think that you would actually have gotten to it, though.
well, possibly, yeah. I can't really say, because, like I said, it's something that's been on my mind for a long
Mhm.
time. And
Yeah.
people always say to me, "Well, you don't look like a grandma. You don't act like a grandma." I'm like, "What does a grandma look like and act like?" You know.
Yeah.
So, and then with that, that's what kind of gave me the idea. So really, what does a grandma look like, and what are they really saying here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what that also inspired me to focus on this, because again, I
Mhm.
think it's something that's critically important. And for me, when I first became a grandma, I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready. I didn't even want to embrace that word.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
that now they've changed it to grandma, right?
Glamour.
Some people call them, what do they call them? Nana, nanny, one of my friends, her grandchildren call her Mimi. Nobody wants to be called a grandma because it has this connotation of,
Oh.
old, worn out,
Mhm.
like unless they bent over body, all those kind of things. And so nobody wants that image. And so that's why
Yeah,
I said, okay, I'm bringing grandmas back, but I'm doing a
that's
new
good.
version. We're calling the
That's good.
2.0 version,
That's
right?
good. And I can't wait to actually get your book because, there's so many things that not only that grandmothers can be able to continue to do, but that they can be able to inspire words. And so, it
Exactly.
sounds like, based on how much I know about you, Marcia, that's what you've done and collected in your book. So I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to being able to get that. And maybe I can even have you on to my platform so you can actually share your book.
Yes, I would love that. Definitely. I would love that. So please just let me know when, because I want to get out there and show and share,
Mhm.
with so many people because we all have a grandma or had a grandma. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not like grandmas are going out of style anytime soon because they're
yeah.
not, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
it's just how we see them. And I want to change that.
Mhm.
I want to change how people see them because I don't want
Oh,
people to believe, yeah, that they're old and out, and bent over. And somebody shared a picture online where they said this is the grandma of the past and this is the new grandma, and the new grandma had stilettos on and
that's true.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
when I think about the 2.0 grandmas, I think about like Jada Pickett's mom. She was
Oh,
she was on Instagram, remember, with a bikini on? And
oh,
that's not your typical grandma, right?
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But hello, if you got it, flaunt it. I'm not mad at it. And
Mhm.
so, and then like Beyonce's mom is another real fly grandma. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a lot of grandmas out there that are
Oh,
what's the other one? The Kardashian mom,
oh, yeah.
Chris. Yeah. There's a lot of grandmas out there that are fly, honey. So it's not over yet. It is
Oh,
not
no.
over. For some, it's just beginning. So
Yeah. Well, I feel so proud of you and the work that you're doing.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
for you to be, and you should know that you're just so bright and so encouraging, and you are the perfect person to sort of do this work. And
Thank you.
I want to encourage you to keep doing it, and don't, and what I have learned over these years is that when you have a vision, Marcia, that it's important for you to fulfill that vision, even if people around you don't get it.
Yes, 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 yes. And some don't.
Yeah.
And my husband was one of them at first. He did. He's like, what? I'm like, whatever. You don't have to get it. It doesn't matter whether you get it or not, as long as I get it. And that's what's most important. And then you help, then other people will get it
Oh yeah.
eventually. And it takes
They'll
some
get it
time.
when it's time, when it's their time. But it's important
Exactly.
if you need to be, and that's with all of the grandma you're sort of speaking to.
Hmm.
If they have something that they want to do, to go forward and do it, even if they don't,
Yes.
and everybody understands it, and that's okay.
Exactly. Yep. The grandma I interviewed earlier today is an artist.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so she was she still is a hairstylist. She has her
Mm.
own beauty salon, whatever. And she did that for years. And
Mm.
she says that part of her biography is that she is the youngest of 21 children. Right.
Oh my, 21.
Right, 21, and she's the youngest. So she took care of some of her siblings that were older. She, like
Mm.
they were somewhere in restaurants. She brought them into her house, helped them, all of that.
Yeah.
And so she said sometimes when she couldn't sleep at night, she would get up and she would start painting. Now this woman is selling her paintings. She sold one for almost $10,000.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Wow is the word, right? So again, it is never too late. She has four
Wow.
grandchildren. I think she said two children, three children, four grandchildren. But yeah,
That,
yeah. So it's never too late to live your dreams and aspirations ever.
wow.
And so
Yeah.
that's what I want to I want to highlight grandmas that are doing these things so that others that are afraid to do it will maybe get encouraged, be encouraged by what others are doing. So
Oh,
that's
good.
that's my
So
purpose.
you're capturing stories and then you're
Yes.
sharing them on your platform for the.
Yes.
Is it a closed group that you're doing?
I'm sorry.
Is your group a closed group? Because I wanted.
No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
good. Okay.
No, I want other grandmas anywhere in the world to know about this movement.
Okay.
And I had a grandma from, where was she from? She was, I can't remember where it was. It hit me up on Instagram and said, "Oh my God, I love what you're doing."
Oh, good.
So, people are like, "Oh my God," because again, we forget and we think that grandmas are over here sitting somewhere quiet, not doing anything, or in a rocking chair or something. No, that's not what we're doing. Okay. Thank you, Alicia. I know we've been
Yeah.
on here probably an hour and a half, and I don't,
Sure.
and I told you I was going to try to do maybe 45 minutes at most, but I just so enjoyed talking with you, and I love the work that you're doing, and I love the fact that our work kind of, somehow intersects, and
Yeah.
so I think that that's critical as well.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you
Well,
so
I'm
much for your
glad that
time.
you,
I
you
appreciate
made
it
the
so
day
much.
sometime.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed it too. It's great to catch up too.
All right.
Have a
Thanks
great
for having
weekend. Thank
All
you
right.
again so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.